This is Liron Hirschkorn from PilotLifeQuote.com, and in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 life insurance mistakes that pilots make and how you can avoid them. So let's talk about the first one, which is understanding flat extras. And the mistake is that a lot of pilots don't understand what flat extras are. So let's talk about it. What are flat extras? Flat extras are additional charges, an additional fee that you pay when you have an additional risk, when you present an additional risk to a life insurance company. So if you're a pilot, because you are a pilot, you present an additional risk to an insurance company. Depending on the amount of hours that you've flown, depending on the type of aircraft you fly, there may or may not be a flat extra. For example, if you're a commercial pilot for one of the major airlines and you fly Boeing 747, 777, you fly bigger types of planes, insurance companies are not going to charge you a flat extra generally because they deem you as having so much experience in flying in really safe types of planes. They're bigger, they have more engines, that they're not going to charge you that flat extra. However, if you are a private pilot or if you're a commercial helicopter pilot, or there are many instances where they would want to charge you a flat extra. Depending on the amount of hours flown, your experience, where you're flying, over what type of terrain, and for what purpose, commercial, private, they would charge you usually an additional flat extra. That flat extra can typically be anywhere from $2.50 per $1,000 of coverage up to $7 per $1,000 of coverage annually. That could add up. So, for example, on $500,000 of coverage, a $5 flat extra charge would be an additional $2,500 a year. So, pilots really need to understand this. And when we talk about companies in a couple minutes, you'll see why it makes sense to understand flat extra and also the companies that you're dealing with. Um, Also, understanding accidental coverage. Pilots sometimes get accidental coverage and think that they're covered while flying a plane. Typically, that's not the case. Most accidental life insurance policies, they're very cheap, but they generally don't cover things like piloting a plane. So if you're a passenger on a plane and there's a crash and you die, then yes, you're covered. But typically, you're not covered as a pilot for accidental life insurance policies. The next thing is the aviation exclusion. So sometimes you just need to get an amount of coverage for your family. Let's say it is $500,000 of coverage, and the insurance company, the best rate you can get, does have that $5 flat extra, 2,500 additional charge. So there is something called an aviation exclusion. What you can do is a lot of companies will accept this, where you tell them, uh, "Don't cover me if I'm a pilot on a plane and I die." Uh, while piloting a plane, don't cover me. I'm not covered. That's an aviation exclusion, and then they're not going to charge you that additional fee. What that does is it does allow you to buy that larger type of policy that you need for your family, and you don't have the coverage while flying, but you do have the coverage in every other possible situation. What you can do to minimize the risk here when you do this is you can buy a smaller policy, maybe 100,000 or 200,000, that does have the aviation exclusion. So it's just something that you should be aware of, that you do have the capability to use if you do need to get a life insurance policy and the flat extra is going to prohibit you from buying it. Well, it's at least better that you have something, even if it's with the aviation exclusion, and maybe you get a smaller policy that includes the aviation risk. The next item to know is that not all companies are created equal. So we spoke a little bit about the flat extra. There's a vast difference in how companies charge for these risks. Some companies are more conservative. Some companies are more uh, liberal when it comes to pilots. Each company has their unique guidelines, and so shopping around or working with an independent agent that can reach out to companies and understands which companies are going to be better for you is the best way to go. And that's what I do as an independent agent, and why I started Pilot Life Quote to help pilots in getting the best rates on life insurance. And then the last thing to know is thinking about your significant other. So, uh, if something happens to you, you might think of yourself as the main breadwinner. Maybe your spouse or significant other doesn't work, or they don't make as much income, and you're not thinking about them in terms of getting life insurance. But you, as a pilot, if you're flying frequently and you're not always around, or you want to think about insuring your spouse or significant other because they do have economic value. Maybe they're taking care of kids or taking care of the household. It might cost you money to replace that. Or maybe if you are flying a lot, if you're a commercial pilot, let's say, and you fly often, well, maybe you're going to want to take some significant time off if something just happened to your spouse and now your kids are, without a mother. And you may want to take some time off from work, and having that money there gives you that flexibility. Hope that these tips were helpful to you. You can visit our website, pilotlifequote.com, to get a life insurance quote. And we also offer life insurance for not just pilots, for everybody else. And you can go to our website, Best Life Quote, if you just need a regular life insurance quote, for example, for your spouse. We hope to see you there, and you can reach me at 800-574-0245. My name is Lee Ron Hirschkorn, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.